Hello and welcome to the Columbia Daily Tribune's Behind the Stripes football webcast. This is Tribune sports editor Joe Waljasper along with Tribune football beat writer Dave Matter. Dave, Missouri heading to Tennessee in what I think we would all call a must-win. There's 3 more games in the season. Missouri has to win 2 of them, and it would seem like this is one of them that would be the most likely to get, along with the Syracuse home game. James Franklin, we talked about him in the previous webcast. Do you kind of see this as some sort of defining moment for him? He's coming off this game where everybody blamed him for losing. Now he's going up against Tennessee with a chance to kind of right the ship and maybe right the season.
Yeah, I think there's no other way to look at it. I mean, this is a pretty bad Tennessee defense, worst in the SEC in most statistical measures. They just came off a game where they gave up 700 yards to Troy, and in a shootout, a game that went into the 50s. And so yeah, I think this is a chance for Franklin to suddenly get pretty healthy because he should be able to move the ball in this game. I think both running and passing, probably more on the passing side. I think that they're probably be smarter to give the ball to the running backs in this game because I think they can be pretty productive. And yeah, this is his chance because if they lose this game, like you mentioned, got Syracuse, then they have a huge test at Texas A&M. A&M has a much better defense than Tennessee does. I think they've got a better offense too, so you're going to have to score more points just to keep pace with them. But this is a game that Missouri's going to have to score more than what they've been doing lately because even in their losses, in Tennessee's 5 SEC losses, they've averaged almost 29 points. So even if Missouri's defense comes out and plays another great game like it did last week, you figure they're going to give up some points just because Tennessee's so explosive. And, this is Franklin's chance. And if you look at last year when he had his worst games, he generally came back the next week and played really well. When he struggled against Kansas State, had the big game against Iowa State, a week later had 5 touchdowns. When he struggled against Oklahoma State, threw all those interceptions, came back the next week and had a huge win, probably the best win of his career, I think, down at Texas A&M. And we'll see if he can do it now. The quality of the opponent's a little bit different than Iowa State. It was a year ago. But
probably not better than
But probably not much better than Texas A&M. The defense has really struggled for Tennessee. So this is his chance.
Yeah, last year after the Oklahoma State game, James was kind of very apologetic to everyone, felt like he'd let everybody down, and to the point where Chase Daniel had to call him up and give him a pep talk.
Yeah.
But what I saw from him after that game at Florida was a whole different bird than anything I'd seen before from him. He's just always so upbeat and chatty, and boy, it was like someone had run over his dog on the way out of the locker. I mean, I had never seen that. It was just, yes, sir. It was just kind of sad almost. I know you mentioned at Media Day, maybe his demeanor changed a little, but it was not the same old James. I mean, what do you read into the way he's reacted to that game?
He's kind of in a dark place right now, and that's something we're not used to seeing with James. Even when he struggled, he has still kind of kept that bubbly persona, stays very positive, but it's just very different. And Monday was different than Saturday. He talked a little bit more, but he almost seemed angry. I mean, it was almost like a stern James Franklin, which, we kind of laugh at because, I think you wrote the column last year, is this guy going to be more Elmo or Elway? Because he is kind of a goofy kid. But he seems like something has changed, and maybe that works out. I know some of his teammates were talking about how he played differently at Florida. He was very aggressive. I think T.J. Moe's quote was that he was breathing fire. Franklin spoke up in the locker room at halftime.
He literally breathed fire.
He spoke up in the locker room at halftime, which is very much against his nature. He is not a rah-rah type guy. So sometimes maybe when a guy who isn't normally like that and suddenly is, maybe that kind of resonates with teammates. I don't know. Maybe they think it's fake. But, he's such an honest, candid kid that I don't see him being phony. Maybe he feels like he needs to change a little bit. Maybe he sees, next year and the fact that he might have a little competition for this job and that he's got to do something to kind of earn his place.
Yeah, I think last year I sort of had questions going into the year whether someone so happy-go-lucky would be a guy people would want to follow. But then, I don't know, I felt like he'd answered that question. He really, he led those late fourth-quarter comebacks against Arizona State, against Texas Tech, against Texas A&M, and it seemed like he had put all that to rest. So I think he's got it in him, but I do think this game, you're really reaching a situation now where if you lose to Tennessee, if you end up with a losing record, you don't make a bowl game, I think your first SEC season probably is going to end up with 1 win. I mean, there's a lot of negatives that will come along if you don't win this game.
Right.
But I think Tennessee's defense is so bad The only way you're not going to have a big game is if you turn it over. So I think he's kind of got to forget this whole Florida business and just not go into it with some sort of mental hang-up about committing turnovers, because I think it's a game Missouri can win. I think they're a little bit more used to winning than Tennessee is. But if for whatever reason it doesn't happen, then I think you probably are looking at a situation where you go into spring football and it's just sort of a wide open job, because I believe they're going to have 5 quarterbacks in the spring because the 2 true freshmen are showing up this semester.
That's right.
So I think if I'm a Missouri coach and, you feel like maybe it's not just a physical thing and James sort of lost the team and it's anywhere close in the spring, you're going to start thinking about playing younger players.
Absolutely, and we've seen I think a big enough body of work of Corbin Bergstresser to know that not to know that he has no chance, but we've seen something from him. What we haven't seen anything from this year is Maddie Mock. Can he come in the spring and push James and push Corbin for maybe a chance to win this job? And I think if Franklin wins this game Saturday and plays well, beats Syracuse, plays well against A&M, they go to a bowl game, and he can ride into the offseason with a little momentum, I think that conversation goes away a little bit with the Mock talk. So, and then also those 2 incoming freshmen. If not, I think it could be wide open.
I think we reached a point in the Missouri season where whichever quarterback hasn't played more recently is the one that you feel like gives them the best chance to win. So Maddie Mock has not had a chance to throw any interceptions, so he's probably the current person everyone's in love with, and the true freshman even more. But I think the one thing you can't say about James Franklin is if you look at what he did last year, he does have a certain track record of success. So it's not just all maybes and ifs with him. And
it wasn't even last year from game to game. Remember the Kansas game? The first half, he was terrible. He threw a couple interceptions. Looked like he hadn't played football ever in his life before. Second half, he was a different player. Came out, threw a touchdown right away. Was very solid the rest of the game. So that's something the coaches know. They talked about that on Monday, that they've seen him kind of move past his mistakes and have a pretty good next game or next half or whatever. So he needs a big one on Saturday.
All right, well, tune in next week. We'll discuss that game against Tennessee and look ahead to Missouri's final home game against Syracuse.